I rarely buy a game that's $60. I bought Doom and Overwatch because they looked fun, and I'm glad that I bought them, especially Overwatch, because that was a gamble, because I'm not really into those multiplayer-only team-based shooters. I was never really into Team Fortress 2, but I'm glad I did get Overwatch. But for this game, I would have to say it was just morbid curiosity.
Oh, No Man's Sky, where did you go wrong? You were apparently supposed to be the chosen one, the indie title that could deliver that AAA experience. But I guess you did in essence. So much hype, lots of things and features to do, making so many promises and only delivering on a fraction of a percent of it. The game got a lot of praise about it being a technical achievement, generating over 18 quintillion unique planets and life forms and plant life. All of it procedurally generated. The game took about 4 years to develop, starting around 2012. The game was delayed a few times, and the final delay sparking the most outrage, with the writer at Kotaku getting death threats and being accused of writing fake news, only for Sean Murray to get those death threats after it was confirmed by Hello Games that the game would be delayed. The game was released in mid-August, and boy did shit hit the fan. The game getting scores that averaged around 7 out of 10, and dedicated fanboys DDoSing Jim Sterling's site because he gave it a 5 out of 10. And there was a Reddit user posting a very comprehensive list of all the missing things that were promised. But I'm not gonna go into that just yet. The way No Man's Sky works is that they injected a seed number into an algorithm to generate the planets, solar systems, plant, and animal life. However, it's not as diverse as you'd like it to be. There's still a base core set of assets that the game uses to build the geometry on, like the skeletons for animals, which explains why so many of them look the same. Graphically, the game is meh for an 8th generation game. It looks more like a 7th generation game though. And I'm playing the PC version, and from what I've read, they released a patch for it because I'm not experiencing any of the problems that have been reported, like terrible frame rates and the game crashing constantly. However, I'm not sure if the patch fixed the PC optimization issues, or that my configuration just means that I'm lucky. And the sound is pretty good, and I enjoyed the music. So what is it that you do in No Man's Sky? Well, you explore planets and collect resources. And there's really only 2 missions that you can do. Follow the Atlas path and make a new star, or make your way to the center of the galaxy. Other than that, there's really nothing much to do. The game doesn't tell you how to do anything remotely useful, like how to switch your multi-tool from a mining laser to a blaster, but that doesn't stop the game from telling you non-stop when you complete a journey milestone, with over-the-top letterboxes that block your view and interrupt whatever it is that you are doing, like talking to NPCs. And the game jabs you in the side whenever your life support or environmental systems are at 75, 50, 25, and 10%. I don't need to know that because I can clearly see them on the HUD when the game decides to display that. The combat sucks. If you're on a planet and a hostile animal approaches, there's no life bar for it. You just shoot at it until it stops moving, which can waste a lot of ammo, and you need to manually reload when you run out. I guess they thought they were too good for auto reload. The Sentinels, when and if they attack, actually do have life bars, and you pretty much just have to ignore them for reinforcements to appear. The Sentinels also have very good aim, like 100% accuracy even if you're moving, but they'll only attack you if you mine too many resources, attack them, or attack animals unprovoked. Otherwise, they really don't give a shit about you. There's also space combat, and it sucks. Enemy ships are faster, more agile, and have damn near perfect accuracy, and you can't easily escape because they disable your pulse engines. Why they do that? I don't know. And to recharge your shields, you actually have to cycle through menus, hope that you have the needed resources, and refill the shields, all the while you're being shot at. The interface is a pain in the ass to use until you get used to it. The key bindings are weird and it feels clunky and unnatural. When you try to warp from star system to star system, it is one of the most perfect examples of how much of a pain in the ass and how bad the interface is. And going back to star systems that you've previously visited should be easier, but if you do leave a star system, it's easier to say goodbye because you won't get back to it easily, and there's really no reason to go back to it anyway. as the next star system you will run into will have everything that you could possibly need. The inventory management needs a lot of work, and this is probably the worst aspect of the game. Only elements that you mine stack. Crafted items do not. So making a warp cell, power cell, bypass chip, or whatever will take up one item slot for each one that you make. And there's only 3 elements that you really need. Carbon for your life support system, plutonium for your multi-tool and ship's launch thrusters, and thamium-9 for your pulse engines. The only way to get different ships is by either finding wrecked ones on planets and fixing them, or buying new ones from aliens that you meet. But you'll also need to transfer everything from your old ship to the new one, otherwise you'll lose what was in the old ship. The fact that items don't stack with the same items and how limited your storage space is has me pining for Minecraft. Minecraft's inventory management and storage is so much better. All items stack. You can have a base of operations and build chests to hold all your stuff. This is the type of game where you need to have a notepad and keep track of everything you need to craft whatever items you need. And you may be thinking that you need to go to different planets to get different resources. No, not really. The planets have all similar resources. Plutonium, carbon, and iron are the most common elements, and you'll always find them on planet. Gold, which the game says is a rare resource, is extremely easy to find. In fact, I even found a giant golden penis sticking out of the ground. And the easiest strategy for this game is to farm gold, sell it, buy the resources that you need from other aliens or in space stations, craft what you want, and that's it. You're good to go. You could even stay outside in space and farm thamium-9 and just sell that. Yeah, it's tedious, but it's pretty much the same effect.
And now you may be getting ready to say, but you could use all those resources to craft upgrades. And I'm so glad you brought that up. Because you see, upgrades take up item slots. And you have very little item slots to begin with. So that's less room for resources.
To craft an item, you need to have an open item slot. There's no mini crafting table where you can put them together on the fly like you can do in Minecraft. No bigger crafting table anywhere in the game. No, you have to do everything in your inventory. So no open slot, no crafting. And you can't even temporarily drop an item. Your only choice is to destroy that item if you have no open inventory slots. Sure, you can find inventory upgrade slots for your suit, and I think there's one per planet at least, but it costs units, the game's in-game currency, and it goes up every single time you buy one. I found these on accident because if they are one per planet, good luck, because you'll literally be searching a planet to find one. If you want to increase your ship's inventory slots, also good luck with that. The only way to do that is by finding downed ones or buying them from aliens that have larger inventory slots. So back to the literal grind to sell stuff to make those units. And if there's a way to expand your current ship's inventory, then I have no idea because the game doesn't tell you jack. There really is no reason to press on in this game. Once you see a handful of planets, you've seen them all. They mostly have similar creature designs with different textures. Planets look the same with similar plant life, just colored differently. Like every planet I went to with a toxic environment, all had mushroom and fungus looking plant life. In fact, I was on 2 different toxic planets from 2 different star systems, and they looked exactly the same with the exact same plant life. All these giant phallic looking mushrooms. The real kicker here, and you'll hear this phrase a lot, is that the game isn't ocean wide but a puddle deep. And if you want proof of that, just look at the game's size. It's 2.6 gigabytes. 2.6 gigs. Now I know that is procedurally generated, but the game needs to pull the resources from somewhere, and 2.6 gigs isn't enough resources for all the diversity they claim that was gonna be in it. 2.6 gigs isn't any room for quests or stories. 2.6 gigs isn't enough to do anything other than what you do in this game. The game's Spore is 4 gigabytes in size, works on procedural generation, and you can at least do more in that game, and it came out in 2008. You can't build buildings. You can't establish a base of operations. You can't tame wildlife. You can feed them and collect their poop, but you can't build the farm and keep them fenced in. But let's focus on what they promised now. They showed off that you could fly really low on the planets, like zooming through caverns, fighting other ships, and barely scraping the surface of the planet. None of that happens. In fact, you can't even fly along the ground. There's a limit as to how low you can go. In space, they showed massive fleets of ships, but there's really only 3 ships at a time and they don't move at all. You can't join factions, your standing with them can go up or down, but you don't really join them, and they seem rather indifferent to you anyway. And there's no AI ships attacking fleets of ships. The wildlife passes through you and you pass through it, even if it's hostile and it's attacking you. There's nothing to do in this game. You can't be a space trader. You never see aliens walking around. They're always in their fixed locations and never move. Any buildings that you find on the planet look exactly the same. The sentient aliens of their species all look exactly the same, with some minor variations that you probably won't notice. Some of you may be saying that I fell into the hype. No, I didn't. Before I even purchased this game, I saw what people were finding and how it was nowhere near what was advertised. But I thought, hey, maybe I'll see something different. Maybe I'll uncover something cool. Something that will change it all around. I have a knack for that kind of thing. Seeing something from a different angle. No, I got the same boring as hell, falsely advertised experience that everyone else got. Even though I played it for 10.5 hours, I requested a refund through Steam. And while my multiple requests have gotten denied, the thing is, it's not about the money. It's about sending a message. A message that we're not going to stand for this bullshit.
If you're thinking about the game, don't. It's a piece of trash, plain and simple. And worse than that, it's an empty piece of trash. An empty soda bottle with absolutely nothing in it. And now I think it's time for a bonus retro rant. This one being titled...
So what could I possibly say more about the game? No Man's Sky is not only the most disappointing game of 2016, but I would probably place it as the worst game of 2016. What Hello Games did was false advertisement. They probably knew what they were creating wouldn't work, so they did the good old-fashioned bullshots, showing off stuff that wasn't in the game or the game working in ways that it actually doesn't. Doesn't this sound familiar? I could have sworn there was another game that did this too. Oh yes, Alien Colonial Marines. Everything that Gearbox showed was complete and utter bullshit. It was heavily scripted and didn't deliver on what was promised. In fact, Sega and Gearbox were being sued in a class action lawsuit for false advertisement, only for the class action part to be dropped, allowing Gearbox to squirm out of it. But that didn't stop Randy Pitchford from being an asshole about it and saying that it was a victory for Gearbox, citing that the sales of Colonial Marines justifies its quality. The game sold well, so it was a success. And let's not forget that Sega, if they lose the lawsuit, will probably turn around and sue Gearbox, as it was Gearbox who created the bullshots. And Gearbox probably has more to lose in this case, because rumors are Gearbox passed Colonial Marines to another developer, so that way they could pay pennies on the dollar, while taking Sega's money for what was supposed to be used for Colonial Marines, and using it to make Borderlands 2. Hello Games has so far been repeating what people like Randy Pitchford and Peter Molyneux have done, using Pitchford's bullshots while talking up features that are non-existent, were removed, or hyped up beyond what they actually were. Sean Murray has now become the next Molyneux and Pitchford. They're a trifecta from hell. I don't mind some exaggerations. I'm willing to forgive some things, like Watch Dogs, like the graphical quality being downgraded, because the game still looked really good, but flat out lying about stuff that's not there, showing off things that aren't there. That's unforgivable. That's something that no one should be defending, but yet there are people that are. But they're an indie studio, it's not a AAA game, some people cry. So what? That's not an excuse, especially because they treated it like a AAA game and gave it a AAA price along with Sony backing them. I spent $60 that I can't get back and didn't get a $60 experience. Out of all the games that I bought this year for full price, I could say that I got my money's worth. Doom, Overwatch, Rise of the Tomb Raider, all 60 games and worth every penny. We got everything that was promised. Well, how delusional are you? You can't land on asteroids, you can't play with your friends, even when people did manage to find each other, they couldn't see each other at all, or even interact with each other. And that was something that Murray said we could do, even though it was unlikely. You can't join factions, you can't jump in and defend convoys of ships from pirates, at least nothing for what I've seen. When Sean Murray was being interviewed and asked if you could do this or that in the game, he said yes to pretty much everything, and everything he said yes to, you don't see or experience. Well, it's not that kind of game. Then what kind of game is it supposed to be? Because it sure was advertised as a game where you could do a lot more than just hop planets to mine resources to jump to other planets to mine more resources. Well, yes, the games I mentioned a moment ago are all action-orientated games, but here's the difference. They are games. They are entertaining. I'm actually doing something. My brain is thinking how to counter what is being thrown at me. I am being challenged. Even in Minecraft, a game about mining resources, there's more to do because of one very simple reason. You can actually enjoy the fruits of your labor. You can mine and craft all manner of things, and you can actually build and see the items in game. You can interact with the items. I was very happy with myself when I crafted my portal to the Nether because I worked to get it and I could actually play with it. The stuff you make in Minecraft isn't just a picture in your inventory. There is no defending this game because there's no content. We see nothing to the degree of which was shown off in the trailers. Even if the stuff they showed off in the trailers is there in the game somewhere, there's the problem of the game being too big to ever see any of it. They went with quantity over quality in this case. Way too much quantity. But if you like the game, fine. Cool, more power to you. I won't say that you're wrong for liking it, because what it does, it's functional in that sense, but you have to admit that the asking price is $50 more than what it should be due to the lack of content and features that Sean Murray was saying yes to when he was being interviewed. And if you're that one lucky person that found everything that Murray was talking about and showed off, well, good for you, but that only proves the issue that the game is far too large without enough content per planet and spread across the star systems. No Man's Sky is more of a base for a game. It's an engine test for something bigger. It's a proof of concept that they sold for $60 because there's nothing really to do. It feels incomplete, like all the procedurally generated survival crafting shit you see on Steam's early access. So here's a list of things I think would make No Man's Sky better. 1. Let players make customized characters. 2. Let players build and sell their own ships. From this, the players can find blueprints from crash ships, vendors, or NPCs. They'll be able to make faster ships, letting them explore faster. It is an exploration game after all, and because it's so large, speed would be a huge improvement. 3. Let players make their own bases. This way they can store material and items and won't have to worry about inventory space every 5 minutes. 4. Let players actually craft things from the stuff they gather instead of just letting them be pictures in the inventory. 5. Let players find each other more easily if they want to play with friends. 6. Allow fast travel to places you've been to. Have a favorite location system. As long as the player has the right amount of fuel to get between places, this should not be an issue. 7. Upgrades should not take up inventory slots. Have upgrades work like gear and enchantments in fantasy RPGs. Have dedicated slots for player and ship upgrades. 8. For the love of God, redo how the inventory works and give players more space. The 250 cap for the exosuit isn't enough to store materials, and the 500 cap for the ship also isn't enough. Also, crafted or bought items don't stack, and they should. 9. have an actual story and quests to do. 10. Learn the alien languages faster. I learned maybe 30 words between 2 different races in 10 hours of playing. 11. Scale the game size dramatically downward so every planet, animal, and plant life wouldn't feel the same. Because like I said, they're stretching out very little content among a very large world. The fact that this game doesn't have those very basic features that most games of this genre already have says that they didn't finish the game, and what we saw was just doctored up crap, representing what the final product would have looked like rather than what it really was. What's really an insult is that while Hello Games said that they're going to fix the game's bugs, they haven't addressed the lack of features that were advertised. While they did say that after they get the game to be stable, they'll add in more features. That even proves that the game isn't complete. And while Sean Murray said that DLC will be free, he later reneged on that and said that you'll have to pay for it. This is the kind of behavior that makes game studios close, breaking that already fragile trust in the consumer base, resulting in no one trusting them again. So when their next game comes out, people won't buy it right away, or they'll wait until it goes on sale, which is what hurts the game's sales because they can't recoup the amount of money they invested into the game, and then they go under. How many times have we seen indie studios and even AAA studios go under due to over-ambitious promises and not delivering on them? While there are times where content gets cut or changed, which is understandable, however, there's a difference between cutting content for time constraints but still delivering a complete product versus delivering an incomplete and defective product and charging a full $60 price while showing off a version of the game that looks more complete and obviously doesn't exist. I will not be surprised when Hello Games is sued for false advertisement in hopefully the soon-to-be future.
While I played the game for 10 hours, I'm still trying to get a refund through Steam, because it's really not about the money, it's about sending a message.